I stood in the doorway of my bedroom, completely shocked by what appeared in front of me. My thoughts were racing, and my vision blurred as I tried to make sense of the situation. Despite the undeniable evidence right in front of my eyes, my mind couldn't bring itself to accept it. Here she is, my wife, lying on our bed in her usual undressed state. I've gotten used to this sight over the 23 years of our life together, but this time, it was different. She was having sex with a tall, well-dressed man. She clearly felt a strong desire for him. Even my ears could feel it. "Do you like this, dear?" The voice belonged to Jason, one of the clients at my wife's design firm. "Yes, Jason, don't stop," replied my affectionate wife, Rebecca. The pace began to slow down. Jason's movements had almost stopped, and my wife was desperately clinging to him. When he teased her, she let out a whimper. "Daniel doesn't have you under control, does he, dear?" His voice buzzed like an annoying summer fly. She didn't want to get into the conversation. It seemed that she was hampered by the opportunity to compare their intimate qualities. "Just stop talking and surprise me," she demanded. He insisted, "Tell me I'm better than Daniel." Reluctantly, she answered, "Okay, you're better than Daniel." In response, he threw back his head and burst out laughing. While he looked immensely pleased with himself, I, on the contrary, felt far from pleasant. The harsh training in architectural competitions has left its mark on my physical condition, turning me into a formidable and effective designer. I shook my head in disbelief, trying to make sense of the situation. The closest I came to becoming physically imposing was by buying ergonomic drafting equipment from a design supply store. Despite being just an architect, years of carrying heavy models and climbing around construction sites had kept me in decent physical shape. When I saw this scene, I happened to have a roll of heavy blueprints I'd just brought home from the office. Driven by rage, I rushed forward and struck Jason's head with the roll of drawings. Completely caught off guard, he immediately lost consciousness. When his face turned away from me, I let his head slide back down. It blocked Rebecca's view when she woke up and looked at me. Despite the audacity of my punch, which resembled the sound of a ruler hitting a drawing board, it went unnoticed by her. She still didn't notice my presence in the room. Turning quickly, I hurriedly left. Standing outside the door, I strained my ears to listen. It turned out that I managed to knock out my wife's lover, and this realization caused me a lot of emotions. My hands were shaking uncontrollably, and the gravity of the situation weighed on me. After all, my hands were essential to my life, especially for designing, and the thought that I might lose their function sent shivers down my spine. Suddenly, I heard Rebecca's voice rising in anger. Confusion and anxiety gripped me as she demanded answers from Jason, who still didn't respond. Panic rose in me, and I began to think about my next actions. I decided to turn to Google because it is often a reliable source of information. To ensure privacy, I decided to do it from the car, away from my house. After going downstairs, I got in my car and drove to the nearest park, located about 3 blocks from home. There, I took out my phone and thought about how best to formulate my request. It was very important to be precise with Google, as it can give answers that are not relevant to the question asked. How should I formulate it? What actions should be taken if you find a person engaged in intimate activities with his spouse in the shared bedroom of the spouse? This question seemed reasonable. Okay, Google. I asked this question and got 2 initial links, both of which led to jokes. Being a person who likes jokes, I decided to explore the first link. I must admit that some of them turned out to be quite funny. It really made me laugh. In fact, she seemed so funny to me that I jokingly thought, I can come up with smart text messages like these. Another puzzling thought occurred to me. Why didn't my husband report the theft from his credit card, especially if the thief was spending less than his wife? This situation seemed like a mystery to me. I couldn't help but laugh at that too, although it didn't provide any way out of my predicament. The third point discussed was called the main indicator that your wife is on the verge of infidelity. Unfortunately, it was too late for me to use this information. I wished I had stumbled upon it sooner. Perhaps all the obvious signs were right in front of me, but because of my forgetfulness, I did not pay attention to them. Nevertheless, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to explore the content further. To my disappointment, it turned out to be a misogynistic document. It stated that if my wife refuses me intimacy during the fertile period, then this is a cause for concern. I considered the idea of cheating, realizing that I needed to monitor her fertility cycles. But this task seemed pointless because she was taking birth control pills, and I didn't know when she was having cycles. My attempts to ask Google for help were unsuccessful. Deciding to find a solution on my own, I was distracted by the distant sound of a howling siren. An ambulance rushed by, and I wondered what events would develop next. A police car soon followed. Worried that I had wandered into an unfamiliar area, I decided to return to work. Sneaking through the back door, I got to my office, looking forward to continuing my work. Desperately seeking help, I remained unnoticed by everyone around me. In desperation, I dialed Lauren's number and begged her to come. Lauren, who serves as my project assistant, graciously agreed. With a sense of urgency, I handed her several emails that needed to be sent immediately. To my surprise, Lauren asked me why I couldn't do this task on my own. Shamefacedly, I confessed that I was busy with a business matter that had suddenly arisen. Despite my explanations, she graciously accepted the letters and returned to her desk. I persevered until the end of the day, although it was not easy because of the constant pain in my arm. In the end, I left work and headed home, hoping for a break. I was looking forward to hearing what Rebecca would say about the recent incident. When I entered the house, I was greeted by the delicious aroma of food flavored with oregano and garlic. I was hoping it would be an Italian dish, as I liked their cuisine, but my curiosity grew when I entered the kitchen. Rebecca was engrossed in her culinary delights. Her face lit up with a smile when she noticed my presence. "Hi, honey," she greeted me warmly. She asked me how my day had been, which made me give her a short answer expressing my affection. I kissed her on the cheek and gently squeezed her waist. "Good day," I replied, pleased with the way things were going. "Rebecca, let me ask you, do you know a clever way to block a woman's view for a moment?" In response, she just rolled her eyes in disdain. "And how can I?" I continued, gesturing to the 3 air conditioners located directly on the windshield. That a faint smirk appeared on her face, meaning that she realized that this was a joke from the internet. Switching over, I asked her how her day had been and if anything interesting had happened. "Nothing unusual," she replied. But deep down, I couldn't help but wonder if her usual routine involved having an intimate relationship with someone other than her spouse in our shared bedroom. But the fact was that the meeting was interrupted when this man suddenly lost consciousness after the arrival of the ambulance and the police. I was stunned by the unexpected revelation about her intriguing life. "I'm going to freshen up and change," I told Rebecca, intending to get rid of the disbelief. "Of course," she replied, adding that dinner would be ready within half an hour. Climbing the stairs, I cautiously scanned the surroundings, half expecting to see yellow tape cordoning off our bedroom like a grim crime scene. To my surprise, there were no signs of this, but my attention was attracted by the disassembled bed. Upon closer inspection, I noticed a tiny speck of blood on the mattress, which left me wondering about its origin. The explanation may be intriguing. When I came down the stairs, I found that everything was ready, and we had dinner with pleasure. Moving into the living room, Rebecca turned on the TV. Settling down on the couch, she snuggled up to me, creating an atmosphere of absolute calm. Carefully starting the conversation, I turned to her. "Listen, dear, I noticed a tiny speck of blood on our mattress. Any idea how it got there?" Her body tensed for a moment, but soon she relaxed. "When I was shaving, I accidentally scratched my leg," she explained, and it took me a while to realize it. Curious, I reached out to examine Rebecca's leg carefully. Feeling the tension, she asked, "What are you doing?" "I'm looking for a cut," I explained. "I thought a kiss would speed up the healing process." Rebecca nervously replied, "No, it happened a long time ago," she added, appreciating my feelings. "But that's very nice of you," she playfully suggested. "If you're interested, I have something else you could kiss." Politely declining, I replied, "No, thanks. I'll just focus on looking for cuts." The answer seemed to take her by surprise. I was not one of those who often turned down the opportunity to kiss something else, but the idea of kissing something that had just been occupied by an unconscious man did not appeal to me. In general, the idea of kissing something that was occupied by any man other than myself was not very tempting. She looked at me with a note of concern, but I pretended I didn't care, and Rebecca relaxed. I suggested watching a few episodes of something on Netflix. She seemed to agree, and we decided to watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She likes it, but I'm not disgusted, so we found a compromise. Later, she tried to seduce me, but I informed her that I needed to go through some urgent papers, and instead, she went to take a bath. Perhaps she felt a strong desire because of the interrupted meeting with her lover, but I had no desire to satisfy this desire. I had important things to do. Our marriage has been a source of happiness for 23 years. She gave me a beautiful daughter, Emma, and was a wonderful wife and mother. The thought of betraying her or subjugating her never crossed my mind, although I have heard rumors about slot machines in a Mexican bordello. I have never visited them personally. This information was just being spread on the streets. Moreover, I didn't have a single Mexican acquaintance, so the opportunity to visit such establishments automatically disappeared. However, at work, I remembered a colleague named Raul, but he turned out to be from Guatemala. The thought of a Guatemalan bordello did not excite me as much. Since this option was no longer available, I had to think about further actions. To organize my thoughts, I decided to make a list, starting with the house at the very top. I never liked living in it, and I was thinking about giving it to Rebecca. This would be a fair way to distribute the remaining assets. The assets I wanted were not related to the house, but to Emma. I made the decision to replace Dom with Emma because she was the one I really wanted. Emma, a 20-year-old architecture student, will not create any difficulties with custody, although she lived in an off-campus apartment and only came home on weekends. She spent the summer with us, which could have created an awkward situation, but I had to put up with it and accept it. Since this was a no-fault divorce, all the property will be divided equally, which will save me the need to collect evidence. Emma is the only proof I need, and I'm determined not to share it with Rebecca. I have developed a plan for how to do this. Sitting down at the computer, I began to explore the nearest medical institutions. As an expert in sustainable building design, I have valuable knowledge. After finding out where Jason was being held, I decided to visit him the next morning. His injuries included a fractured eye socket and cheekbone. After realizing that he had suffered a concussion, it became obvious that he would remain unharmed until morning, and I would be able to assess the severity of the injury. Before going to bed, I carefully distributed my tasks. As a result, I went to bed late, around 1 o'clock in the morning. Fortunately, Rebecca was already asleep, and this fact made me incredibly happy. When she snuggled up to me, I couldn't help but tremble slightly. There was something about her that repelled me, and I had no desire for her to come into contact with me. Rebecca's transformation was amazing. In one day, she turned from incredibly attractive to completely disgusting. Have you ever noticed how some women can completely transform themselves with makeup? In her case, it was quite the opposite. No amount of Estée Lauder funds could change this fact. Even though her work didn't start until 9 o'clock, she wasn't up yet when I left for work this morning. As I was about to leave, I made coffee and filled my traveling cup, but instead of drinking it, I made an unusual decision. I put a little garlic powder in the coffee. It took me a while to realize that garlic powder and coffee don't go well together, so I decided to save the situation by adding a little garlic powder to the rest of the cupcake. Voila! Now coffee and cupcake were combined in an unusual flavor combination. The balance in space was restored. Before going to the hospital, I made sure that my mobile phone was fully charged. By a happy coincidence, my friend Leo was acting as the administrator of the hospital. I informed him of my intention to work on the servers, and he immediately gave me a plastic pass before leaving. Going to the information desk, I asked about the location of Jason. With a cheerful look, the employee gave the number of his room. When I entered the room, I noticed that Jason was awake, although he did not notice my presence. His face was significantly swollen, and his head was wrapped in bandages, resembling a mummy's robe. It must be very difficult to see with one eye covered with bandages, and the other swollen into the state of a slit. Even turning my head wasn't easy. The suffering written on his face seemed to reflect the excruciating pain I felt in my arm after the blow. I quickly took out his medical record and scanned it with my phone. Carefully walking around his bed, I took photos from different points of view. Although he was muttering incoherently, I didn't pay attention to his words. After handing in my pass, I went to work. Around 8:30, I received a message from Rebecca saying that there was a problem with the coffee pot, but in my personal opinion, the taste of the coffee was quite normal. I discussed some urgent matters with Lauren and informed her that I would take the rest of the day off. Then I contacted Emma and arranged to meet for lunch, since it was Friday and her last class ended at noon. I hoped she wouldn't refuse to join me. Unfortunately, it didn't go as smoothly as I had hoped. At first, Emma expressed disbelief and even accused me of trying to leave my mother when I told her the details. I presented the scan maps and photographs of the mummy. Tears welled up in her eyes. I held her hands gently, comforting her for a long time. Although I wanted to shed tears too, I focused on comforting her. Gradually, her emotions changed, turning into boiling anger. "Daddy, what's the plan?" Emma asked. That I thought about her question and asked for her opinion. Suddenly, she offered, "Maybe we should think about a Mexican bordello. Rumor has it that there are always empty seats in them." My daughter's act comforted my heart, but I did not agree with the idea of pouring bomb on it. "It seems that we are missing certain conditions. Why don't you divorce her and leave with nothing?" my daughter suggested, although she did not approve of it. She understood my point of view. "Well, she won't get half of you," Emma explained her thoughts. Having calmed down, she expressed a desire to immediately go home and meet with Rebecca. I shared her opinion, so she walked me home. Since Rebecca hadn't returned from work yet, we took the opportunity to chat and discuss our strategy. But when she finally came and saw us sitting on the couch, she hurried to hug Emma, but her daughter quickly pushed her away with a sharp gesture. Confused, Rebecca took a deep breath and asked, "What was that?" Emma bitterly replied, "I didn't want you to touch me. I do not know where your hands were." Rebecca was stunned, and her jaw dropped. She quickly explained, "I used an antibacterial agent on my way home." "Why is everyone suddenly so concerned about germs?" Emma asked. "I'm not worried about germs," she added. "I just thought maybe you accidentally touched someone at work and forgot to wash your hands." Rebecca was stunned by Emma's comment. "Emma, what's gotten into you?" she demanded. "You've never talked to me like that before. You should apologize immediately." Emma admitted her mistake and said, "You're right, Mom. I've never spoken to you in such a disrespectful manner before, but it looks like you should prepare for this. As far as I know, you've never engaged in lewd behavior before." Rebecca looked at me in surprise and confusion, asking, "What's going on?" I explained that after I informed Emma about yesterday's incident involving the ambulance and the police, she started treating her negatively. Rebecca gazed at me, then shifted her glance between Emma and me. I noticed a distant expression in her eyes as she slowly lowered herself to the floor, bowing her head. I strained to understand her words, but all I could discern was a plea. "No, please, no." Emma and I exchanged concerned looks, sensing that something was amiss. Almost instinctively, we rose from our seats and hurried to assist Rebecca, carefully guiding her to a nearby chair. Despite the slight tilt of the chair, its padded armrests provided reliable support as she sat upright. In a weak voice, Rebecca expressed her need to lie down, if only for a brief period. Recognizing her urgency, we gently transferred her to the sofa, traversing about half the room. After a moment, she succumbed to fatigue, and we carefully adjusted her into a comfortable position, placing her head and feet on the pillows. A concerned Emma inquired if Rebecca had experienced a sudden heart attack. After reassuring her, I explained that it seemed more like a fainting spell, assuring Emma that Rebecca would regain consciousness soon. As we waited, engaging in casual conversation about school and work, Rebecca emitted a faint moan. Reacting swiftly, Emma fetched a refreshing napkin dampened with cool water and a bottle of water from the kitchen. Tenderly, she cleansed her mother's face and assisted her in taking a few sips of water. As a result, Rebecca's anxiety alleviated somewhat, and she inquired how we knew. With a touch of sarcasm, I replied. Oh, so you weren't aware you were in a relationship with someone? Confused, the daughter asked, What happened yesterday, Mom? Have you been seeing someone? Just today, I must have met countless people. Is this the meeting we're talking about? Rebecca asked. Emma, I think you'd better retire to your room and leave your father and me alone. This case doesn't concern you. Please understand that your father and I cherish you very much, but this matter concerns only us. Emma seemed to be exuding anger and frustration. Go to my room, she muttered furiously. You really think I'm still 10 years old? I'm an adult now. You have no right to order me around like a child. If I was 10 years old and you told me to go to my room, I would have disobeyed even then. I don't listen to people I consider immoral. But if my father had asked me to go to my room, I would have obeyed out of respect for him, she stated firmly. When she looked at me, I assured her that I was fine. Emma quickly resumed the conversation. What are you going to discuss? It's none of your business, I immediately stated decisively. You have absolutely nothing to do with this. I had a family, and now she's ruined it. Our daughter was almost screaming. This question does not concern me. Are you crazy? Spring break starts in just 2 weeks. Can you guess my original plan? I was going to go home and spend time with my parents, but circumstances have changed. I am absolutely sure that I will not spend this time with you. I was shocked to hear such harsh words from my daughter's mouth. She was clearly furious. Rebecca looked at me with a helpless expression. Daniel, I deeply apologize, she said between uncontrollable sobs. This emotional state lasted for about 5 minutes until Emma kindly handed her a box of tissues. As soon as she came to her senses, I had a number of questions for her. Rebecca, I asked, what exactly are you apologizing for? Are you expressing regret for your affection for Jason, or do you regret that he treats you better than I ever could? I asked, hoping for clarity. You were present at this. So enlighten me, what happened? How did this happen? I begged her to pause and give me a chance to clarify the situation. What should I clarify? She continued. Did you really engage in intimate activities with this disgusting man on our shared bed, or is it just a figment of my imagination? I watched her shake her head violently. Her despair was obvious. Please, I beg you to stop this interrogation, she pleaded. I'm so upset that I can't think clearly. What did you do, Daniel? I didn't do anything, I replied. According to the police, you probably hit him with something. I was at work, remember? How did you find out about this, Daniel? You were here, I know. If you weren't here, you wouldn't know everything. Rebecca, I have spy stuff all over the house, I said mockingly. I know everything. Didn't I tell you that I know people in the CIA? I've got you figured out, Rebecca. Now I plan to capture Jason and put him to the test. As for you, I'm thinking about using concrete shoes. Please, stop. She covered her ears with her hands in despair. Give me a minute to catch my breath, please. Maybe while you're resting, Emma suggested. You can come up with some convincing lies. Daddy, let's give Mom a break, and you can take me with you to the Dairy Queen. And so we went to the DQ restaurant. Emma and I decided to surprise our mom, Rebecca, with pumpkin pie spice cookies. When we set off, Emma excitedly talked about how she chose cream cookies for herself. It was very nice to watch her sweet giggle, not knowing that Rebecca despises anything that tastes like pumpkin. When we returned, Rebecca looked refreshed and was sitting on the couch with her head in her hands. When she looked up at our entrance, Emma handed her a pie. Rebecca took a bite, but immediately wrinkled her nose in disgust. She carefully placed the pie on the coffee table, clearly not impressed. Daniel, Emma, could you sit down? She asked, her tone indicating her intention to clarify the situation. But I expressed my disinterest in past events, focusing on future actions. It took her by surprise and seemed to bother her. I couldn't help but wonder why those who commit reprehensible acts feel they have the right to offer explanations. It seems that victims of such acts are expected to patiently listen to how their own misfortune is justified. On the contrary, I refuse to give in to the role of victim. Not knowing what to do next, I am at a loss. Disappointed, Rebecca exclaimed. What should I do? Maybe we should go somewhere far away, our daughter suggested. Bailey, please, Rebecca begged. You're not helping. Emma asked in disbelief. What's the help? Rebecca's heart sank when she heard her daughter's words. "Mom, you ruined our family," Emma accused. "Do you think any of us will ever recover from what you've done?" Rebecca intervened hopefully, but in a low voice. "I hope that both of you will eventually be able to get over this. I made a huge mistake, Daniel. If you give me a chance, I'll prove that I won't repeat it. Haven't any of you ever made mistakes?" There was mockery in Emma's voice. "Yes," Emma said mockingly that I couldn't help but roll my eyes at her tone. "I got a negative grade last week instead of a +1 on the algebra exam," she continued, giving me a knowing look. I nodded in agreement and added, "Yes, I can understand that. Just last week, I made the mistake of ordering the wrong size SD card for my tablet." I had a hard time getting her attention back. Our attention shifted to Rebecca, who seemed to finally realize the seriousness of her actions. "Okay, now I understand," she confessed, her voice filled with remorse. "I can't just dismiss this as a mistake. It was more than that. It was a colossal mistake. I feel incredibly stupid, and I sincerely apologize. If you let me, I will show my deep remorse." She asked, "Why did you do such a cruel thing? If you had doubts, why didn't you just ask him to leave?" Curious, I asked her how aware she was of the situation. "I know it was you who said you were present and heard what he said," she insisted. I explained, "I didn't mean anything bad. It was just that the situation seemed terrible." But she didn't seem to want to understand anything. I repeated my previous statement. "I've already explained how I know. I have surveillance equipment installed all over the house. Emma's bedroom and bathrooms are free of any inappropriate objects or activities. If you need privacy, you can use these rooms." Emma expressed her disgust, saying it was inappropriate. "Mom, you haven't been involved in any questionable situations in my bed, right?" Rebecca indignantly replied, assuring that this was not the case. "And we don't have any surveillance equipment, right?" "On the contrary," I replied, "I have connections with some powerful people and access to advanced CIA espionage equipment." Rebecca asked, "Where are they?" I replied, "Haven't you heard of the word secret? I can't show them to you because you don't have security clearance." Rebecca sighed, dismissing my explanation as nonsense. "This is completely real nonsense," she admitted. "The important thing is that I was stupid and got caught. Now I have to fix everything," she said. Curious, I asked, "What was your plan?" "I didn't have one," she confessed. "I never thought that I would be caught. I've only done it twice, Daniel. But this was supposed to be the last time." "All right," I agreed. Emma interrupted our conversation with an enthusiastic high five. "If it only happened twice and you didn't think you'd be caught, then it's okay," I reasoned. Rebecca quickly retorted, "No, it's not okay. I'm just explaining why it's not okay." Suddenly, a thought struck me. "By the way, how are you going to convince me to believe everything you say?" I asked. Rebecca answered quickly, "I've never lied to you. We have always been honest with each other." I couldn't help but retort, "Well, there are at least 2 cases where you weren't entirely truthful." Rebecca blushed, showing her decency. "But other than that, do you consider yourself not a liar?" accused Emma. This remark caused outrage in Rebecca's face. "I always tell the truth," she claimed, although even she understood the absurdity of her statement. "I'm not a liar," she insisted. "Nevertheless, Daniel, I admit I really lied to you about this. I didn't know what to do in this situation, and I was hoping that you wouldn't find out the truth. But I've never lied to you about anything else. What are you trying to convey to me?" I asked. Rebecca confessed, "I made a stupid mistake. I've only done it twice, and I planned that yesterday would be the last day. I promise I will never do it again." Emma asked, "So you slept with him before you dumped him?" Rebecca replied, "No. Wait, you completely misunderstood me. The number of times doesn't matter. As I said before, it doesn't matter that I intended to stop. My action is important." Rebecca looked at us with frightened eyes and begged, "Please, if you let me explain without interrupting." As she began to speak, she stopped abruptly and froze in place, mirroring our raised hands. "I've already told you that I don't want to listen to explanations," I repeated. "All I want to know is what you're going to do about it." She sank into a chair, clasping her hands tightly in her lap, and tears flowed down her face again. Gasping, she exclaimed, "I don't know. What do you expect from me?" Annoyed, I replied, "No, you can't blame me for that. You ruined everything. That's why you have to fix it." Sobbing in despair, she confessed, "I really don't know what to do. I hope that you will inform me as soon as you resolve the situation. But for now, I suggest we move your things to the guest room. Although I can't force you to leave, I'd rather you stay away from me." Overwhelmed with emotion, she began to cry again, begging. She asked me to change my mind, calling it a cruel request. "I'll go back to my apartment and let my mother use my bed. But I wouldn't want to stay here with her. Mom, please refrain from sleeping with anyone in my bed." Rebecca gave her a sympathetic look. "Why are you being so cruel to me?" "Well, I thought you'd want to avoid the surveillance cameras during your secret date this afternoon," Emma scoffed. "If you bring some untidy guy home, please use the bathroom. My bed is not available to you." This experience surpassed any stand-up comedian show. I was so fascinated by Emma's comic performance that I wished she would stay longer. But on reflection, I realized that I didn't even want to sleep on the bed in my room. Jason and all his previous mistakes probably left their mark on her. The only person present was Rebecca, who was practically screaming. Only Jason was here, and nothing like this should have happened again. Determined, I changed the sheets and put on a fresh mattress pad. I looked at Rebecca and shook my head. "I remember this blood," I reminded her. "But it is important to note that contact with someone else's blood can be dangerous. Working in sustainable design teaches such things. There is a risk of contracting AIDS. Anyway, I think I'll visit Adams now. Rebecca always wanted me to take her with me on weekends." Emma's eyes widened in surprise as she looked at me. "Hey, baby, do you want to experience this?" I suggested. "I heard there's an amazing restaurant there. We could relax by the pool, maybe even soak up the jacuzzi or spa, rent a spacious 2-bedroom room, drink wine, and go to a movie or something." Just thinking about it made my heart pound with excitement. Emma seemed completely delighted with the idea. Her face glowing with happiness, I replied by assuring Rebecca that I would keep an eye on her while she spent time with me. In addition, I suggested finding solace in alcohol. Rebecca asked to stay, stating that it would be more profitable for her to leave. I objected to her, saying that it was inappropriate for both of us to risk our health, especially given my state of health. Deciding to put our well-being first, I announced my intention to pack a bag and wait in the car. I refused to stay with that woman. I let out a restrained cry of disappointment, but Emma and I didn't waste any time and set off. I quickly packed my things, packing only the essentials for a few days, and we went to Adams together. Our stay there turned out to be pleasant, and I realized how wonderful my daughter was. Despite the fact that we both felt a little depressed, the surrounding environment managed to distract our attention, and we indulged in intoxicating drinks. Emma, with her cheerful disposition, became a source of infectious joy when she enjoyed seeing how alcohol affected me. It wasn't easy for either of us to fall asleep, and I suspected Emma was having the same difficulty. When we sat down to breakfast, the topic of the future arose. "What are your plans, Daddy?" asked Emma. I thought for a moment before answering. "I'm not really sure, but I think my first step will be to consult with a lawyer." With curiosity in her eyes, she asked, "Do you think you can overcome this and stay with her?" I sighed and answered honestly, "I don't think so, my dear. It's going to be hard for me to get over this." Emma seemed to understand everything but asked the question, "Can you forgive and forget in a situation like this?" Reflecting on my 23-year marriage, I confessed, "No, it wouldn't be easy. I've put so much into it." Understanding my feelings, she nodded silently. The fact is that for me, 23 years were much more important than for Rebecca. Her pursuit of Jason's lover made it clear that our shared history and those 23 years didn't really matter to her. Emma looked saddened by the situation. "I understand your feelings. I'm going back to university, Dad. I think I'll stay here one more night." I replied, "I'll be back tomorrow night. I will have to face some old memories related to the main issue, but sooner or later, it has to happen. I can't avoid this indefinitely." She hugged me tightly, kissed me on the lips, and left. I reassured myself that as long as I had my child, everything would be fine. She has always been my girlfriend, and this connection will remain unchanged. After parking the car in the driveway, I took a deep breath before facing a difficult situation. By the time I arrived, Rebecca was sitting at the kitchen table, visibly upset. Her eyes were swollen and watery, and her hands were clenched into tight fists. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, forcing me to bring a glass of milk. When she started talking, I cut her off abruptly. "Please, Rebecca," I interjected, my tone cold and distant. "Do you really think I care about your needs? What I really need is a wife who won't betray me by sleeping with other men in her own bed. Our daughter Emma deserves a mother she can be proud of, and yet you have the audacity to express your own desires." Tears welled up in her eyes as she tried to defend herself. "That's not what I meant," she stammered, choking on sobs. Deep down, I already knew that. I wanted to say that in order to at least begin to repair the enormous damage that I have caused. She had to restrain herself from saying, "I have to." "What are you doing?" she finally managed to say. "I have to tell you something," she finally admitted. "I have to figure out what you want from me. I want you to accompany me to Robinson's office tomorrow," I said. Her face turned even paler. "To the lawyer's office? What is it? Why do you want to go there, Daniel?" "That's the way it is with people who get divorced," I explained. "But I don't want to get divorced," she exclaimed. "Well, that's weird," I replied. "That it is a common occurrence when you have affairs with other men besides your spouse." She objected, stating that it wasn't with several men but only with one, and it only happened twice before I discovered her. I questioned her honesty. Her voice, filled with sadness, sounded pleading. "Why should I believe you?" I asked. "I'm not sure," she admitted. "And yet I'm telling the truth, Daniel. I am fully aware of what a serious mistake I have made. I was vulnerable and stupid. I did not imagine that the situation could reach such an extent. Please, Daniel, can we talk? Please advise me on how to fix this situation. It's hard for me to understand, I admit. If you found out that I was sleeping with Lauren in her bed, what steps should I take to fix the situation between us?" She replied, "I would probably go to Robinson and start the divorce process. I hope you're more forgiving than I am. Deep down, I know it's true. I admit I was self-centered, Daniel. I sincerely apologize to you." "Rebecca, I'm at a loss," I confessed. "I am a man who remains faithful to one woman. My ideal wife should put our relationship first. I thought you were just like me, but I was wrong." No, you weren't wrong," she retorted. "It was my own stupidity and wrong decisions. I decided to seek help from a therapist, Daniel. I am ready to attend consultations with you. Besides, I'm thinking about going to church. Maybe Emma will let me accompany her. I'm sorry, Daniel. I understand that this is not the only action I have to take. Please, just give me the opportunity." "What are you saying?" Although Emma seemed to accept my wishes, I couldn't help but wonder if she would lose respect for me if I gave up on her mother. The answers to these questions eluded me. Looking at Rebecca, I noticed the fear in her eyes, similar to the fear of a guilty puppy who has just destroyed your favorite slippers and realized the seriousness of his mistake. "Rebecca, you've ruined everything this time," I told her. "I do not know how you can regain my trust or make me see you as desirable again, but I'm not ready to give you a chance. I want you to feel the pain that I'm feeling right now. I didn't expect such betrayal from you. Goodbye, Rebecca." As I turned to leave the room, I noticed Emma standing in the doorway. She had returned early from her trip, and I could see the determination in her eyes. "Dad," she said softly, "I've been thinking. What Mom did was unforgivable, but I don't want our family completely destroyed. Maybe we should at least try therapy first? For my sake." I looked at my daughter, then back at Rebecca, who sat sobbing at the kitchen table. The weight of 23 years of marriage pressed heavily on my shoulders. "Fine," I said eventually. "We'll try therapy, but I'm making no promises beyond that." Emma crossed the room and hugged me tightly. "Thank you, Dad," she whispered. Rebecca looked up, her eyes filled with tentative hope. "I'll do whatever it takes, Daniel. I promise." I nodded stiffly, still unable to meet her gaze directly. "I'll call Dr. Winters tomorrow to set up an appointment. In the meantime, you'll continue sleeping in the guest room." As I walked away, I wondered if I was making the right decision. The betrayal still burned fresh in my mind, but the thought of losing everything we'd built together over 2 decades, our home, our routines, our shared memories, gave me pause. Only time would tell. Story 2. On Thursday evening, after 2 decades of marriage, Nathan Park's beloved wife Sophia, a young and attractive 39-year-old mother of 2 charming daughters, unleashed a blast wave on him. She casually mentioned that she had an appointment with a work colleague the next evening. Nathan and Sophia had tied the knot as teenagers, deeply in love with each other. Their journey began when she unexpectedly became pregnant with their first daughter, Christy, less than a year into the relationship. Despite their unconventional beginnings, they accepted their new roles as parents, exchanged vows, and just 7 months later welcomed the birth of another precious child. Over the years, their marriage blossomed, filled with love and tenderness, and their 2 beautiful children reciprocated the adoration of their devoted parents. Nathan began the path to creating his own medical technology company, which eventually turned into a thriving multi-million-dollar enterprise. MedTech Innovations became known throughout Portland for their revolutionary patient monitoring systems. This achievement gave them the opportunity to lead a truly wonderful and satisfying life. Never in his imagination could Nathan have imagined that the bombshell his wife had dropped would come crashing down on him with irresistible force, like a heavy load of bricks. Nathan was sitting on the couch, savoring a glass of whiskey, when she talked about her constant struggle with depression and dissatisfaction after their children left for university. It was a devastating revelation because Nathan firmly believed that his marriage was perfect. This unexpected news affected him greatly. Sophia said that she had a deep friendship with Marcus, a colleague from the marketing department who had supported her during her struggle with depression. This revelation came as a surprise to Nathan because she had never talked about feeling depressed or upset before. The thought of his wife seeking emotional support from another man caused him great pain, but the news that she had expressed a desire to be with him devastated Nathan to the core. As it turned out, Marcus was married with 3 young daughters, and he did all this under the guise of some kind of consultant. Marcus pretended to be a harmless person, but in reality, he was a predator patiently waiting for an opportunity to harm innocent victims. Married women who radiated attractiveness became easy prey for Marcus as he exploited their vulnerability and lack of emotional attachment. I can no longer hide this from you, Nathan, and I hope that you will understand what I am guided by. Although it may seem self-centered, I feel like I have to get through this night for my own sake, she said. Naturally, anger rose in him, and he wanted to express his displeasure by shouting, but knowing his wife and the circumstances, he reluctantly agreed that this should happen. After her decision, there was no room for hesitation. As soon as she made her statement, he sat silently, expressing no emotion. Meanwhile, she anxiously sat opposite him, alone on the double sofa. The silence that followed was overwhelming, and Nathan deliberately tried not to utter words, calmly finishing his whiskey. He got up from his seat and headed for the exit of the room. Nathan, please don't ignore me, she begged. Stop sulking and acting like a child. Before taking any action, I would like to inform you about what is happening now. It's important for you to know that I will never betray your trust, and I think I have to be completely honest with you, my love. When he stood and looked at this woman, his face must have reflected extreme shock and disbelief. Seeing his reaction, she instinctively curled into a defensive posture, as if anticipating the worst. Without saying a word, he quietly went up to the bedroom and gathered enough clothes and toiletries to last the next 2 days. Nathan walked past Sophia to his car, which was parked in the garage, in complete silence. She followed him, uttering desperate screams. Please, Nathan, don't leave. Everything will be fine. It's just one date. It's going to end soon. Can't you give it to me after 2 decades? He pulled back, shaking his head in disbelief at her words. That Thursday evening, Nathan went to the luxurious Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Yes, at the Ritz-Carlton. The room cost $400 a night, but he didn't care. If he was going to suffer, then he decided to enjoy the world around him. As soon as the calls and messages started, He immediately answered them with one message and then blocked her number. In a short reply, Nathan informed her that he would not be in touch until his return on Saturday, after she committed betrayal. He was sure that those words had caused her deep pain. The next day, while at work, he instructed his executive assistant to ban any calls from his wife and informed the security team not to let her enter the building. Nathan had already put his plan into action and would not allow any changes to be made to it. He had always been called Nathan Park, the man who acts. Whether at work or among friends, he had established himself as a responsible person who constantly fulfilled his obligations. People perceived him as a reliable leader who kept his promises. But at home, he took on a different appearance, an obedient and accommodating person, always striving to please and get rid of his macho alter ego. This approach had served him well over the past 2 decades, but on reflection, he realized that he might have underestimated her influence. On reflection, he realized that in family life, he needed assertiveness and indifference. And yet, his deep affection for his wife made Nathan treat her like royalty. One day, he came across a quote that amused him, but since then, its humor had disappeared. It said that if you treat her like a queen, then she will treat you like a servant. Unfortunately, these words became his harsh reality, but he didn't want it to go on like this. Having made his decision, on Friday morning, Nathan turned to his brother, a cybersecurity consultant living in Seattle, for help. After carefully explaining his predicament, he dialed the number of his colleague, Peter Clift, a network security specialist, and waited for the call to connect. "Hi, Peter, this is Jason Park. How are you, buddy? Listen, I have a request for you. My brother is in a difficult situation, and he could really use your experience tonight. Could you send one of your guys to keep an eye on his wife?" "Yes, tonight. We need to find out who she's spending time with, and I need as much information about that person as possible by Saturday morning. Could you check his numbers and give me his home address and phone number? If you can send it to me tonight, we need to take some photos of this couple. Do you know what we need? It is desirable that we can get information about the man tonight, but tomorrow will be good. Jason, I understand that this is an urgent matter, but I am in your debt, and therefore I am ready to help. We need the phone number and address of the perpetrator tonight, as soon as possible. The rest of the photos and additional information will be received tomorrow. Please provide me with all the details I need to work with. This is exactly what we need at the moment. I'll send you his wife's address, the time of her departure, and the name of her partner. I was informed that Marcus, who works with her at Portland Memorial Hospital, is not that hard to find, my friend. It seems that his wife usually returns home at 5 o'clock in the evening, but unfortunately, we do not know the time of the start of their date. Therefore, someone will have to leave their house before 5 o'clock in the evening to follow Sophia when she leaves. I would be very grateful if you would give me your wife's address, and I assure you I will deal with the rest, my friend." Nathan listened attentively to the conversation and couldn't help but smile when his brother finished. His plan was steadily progressing toward success. Nathan had a plan. He was going to take his unfaithful wife by surprise. Time was slipping away, and he knew he had to act quickly. When the cheaters sat down to dinner, Nathan decided to visit Marcus's wife, hoping to shed light on the situation and reveal the whereabouts of the couple. Feeling an urgent need, he dialed the number of his old friend Joe and asked for help. Joe, who was going through a difficult divorce and was not going to get married again, used escort services to satisfy his intimate needs. Nathan asked Joe for the contact information of the escort service he frequented. The realization of this fact came to Nathan when he understood why all this had happened. Instead of resorting to infidelity, he began to seek solace in the field of physical intimacy, which turned out to be a more economical solution. After a successful conversation, he managed to arrange an evening rendezvous with a charming young blonde. To express his gratitude for the unique circumstances, he generously offered another $1,000 as a token of appreciation. Nathan spoke frankly about his desire to establish a genuine connection with the girl, explaining that he was currently going through a breakup. In his search for a girl, he dreamed of a compassionate meeting in which the girl would treat him as if they had been loving friends since their first meeting. He assured her that there would be no complications, but it was important for the girl to understand the situation in case his wife unexpectedly appeared. He stressed that in the event of such a development, she should present herself as the woman he had met the previous night and not reveal her true identity as a paid escort. Nathan was well aware that his wife would eventually find them in bed together. If she wanted to go on a date with another man, he intended to reciprocate, but with a touch of sophistication. They planned to meet at the hotel, have a drink, and have a meaningful conversation before embarking on pleasant activities. Having formulated his strategy, he intended to put it into effect immediately. Working as a hospital administrator, Sophia constantly organized consultations every Saturday, rarely returning home before 6 o'clock in the evening. This day, like many others, turned out to be extremely eventful. Remembering Thursday evening, when Sophia boldly declared her independence, she sat down on the couch, thinking about their conversation and venting her disappointment into an empty space. What a jerk he is to leave without saying a word, Sophia thought. She repeatedly tried to contact Nathan, called and texted him, but her anger only intensified when he ignored her until, finally, one message arrived. This message, which spoke of betrayal, made her flinch and reconsider her plans. Initially, Sophia viewed their date as a carefree night devoid of any wrong intentions. Banishing thoughts of betrayal from her head, she convinced herself that it was just one night of entertainment, and Nathan would eventually get over it, allowing their lives to return to normal. In her opinion, he was overreacting to what was happening. But you will forgive me, and I will redeem myself tomorrow night. I'm sure you won't be able to resist me, and I know exactly how to win him over. On Friday evening, when she returned home and found the house empty, she reconsidered her choice. Should she continue to negotiate with Marcus or change her mind and turn to Nathan? Anticipating a pleasant evening, she prepared for it, took a soothing bath, carefully shaved her legs, applied fragrant lotion, and sat down by her vanity to touch up her makeup. When she looked in the mirror, her once beautiful face was transformed into a seductive woman. A smile played on her lips as she finished styling her long hair. Removing the tags from the dress, she carefully hung it on the mirror, admiring the reflection of the charming girl standing in front of her. After putting on stockings that had never been worn before, a gift from Nathan, she delicately fastened them on a garter belt she had recently bought at Nordstrom, purchased earlier in the day. With every touch of her stockings, her mind was filled with memories of how Nathan had begged her countless times to put on a more seductive outfit. When she recalled that fateful Valentine's Day when Nathan presented her with a provocative set of underwear from Victoria's Secret, she was overcome with guilt. Memories of her reaction haunted her, the way she had lashed out at him, questioning his perception of her and his expectations that she would wear such an intimate outfit. She froze in thought, realizing that she had bought a pair of seductive stockings with garters for another man. This revelation triggered new thoughts in her, which forced her to abruptly end the date and cancel the entire affair. As Nathan's accusatory words echoed, she did not stop following his voice, accusing her of betrayal. But gradually, the burden of guilt dissipated, allowing her to overcome the remorse that remained from sharing something with her current partner that she had never given Nathan. She gracefully donned a silk dress, easily zipped up, and noted with satisfaction that she had decided to abandon the bra. The result was amazing. Looking at her reflection in the full-length mirror, she admired her graceful figure, highlighted by slender legs covered in black nylon stockings and complemented by high-heeled shoes. Anticipating Marcus's reaction when he saw her, she made it clear to herself that the evening would consist only of dinner and dancing, without any expectations of intimacy. Although she tried to convince herself that this was just a casual date, she couldn't ignore the desires bubbling inside her. Thoughts of a long-awaited night with Marcus had occupied her for the past month, and today it would finally become a reality. Despite her husband's immature behavior, she was determined to have fun. Sophia was sure that Nathan would support her because he always allowed her to do what she wanted. It was one of the many reasons she treasured their relationship. But just as she was reveling in her independence, Sophia got a call from Nathan. He offered her one last opportunity to stop the destructive path they were on and save their marriage. Suppressing his pride, Nathan made this request to her out of deep love for Sophia. He was ready to reconcile if she would only put an end to all this. He intended to sacrifice his self-respect, humiliate himself, and beg her to change her mind and cancel this date. When Sophia saw Nathan's name on the phone screen, she felt anxious and remorseful. She glanced at her alluring reflection in the mirror and knew perfectly well that her intentions were far from virtuous. But she desperately needed to hear from Nathan and make sure he understood and accepted her choice. "Nathan, I am grateful to you for contacting me. I miss your presence and cherish our love deeply. When will you be back, my dear?" "Hello, Sophia. I love you too, and it's because of that love that I decided to call you. I am very hungry for your presence, and it pains me to hear about what you are going to do. I'm begging you to change your mind about going on this date. Stay at home, and I will readily fulfill your wishes. I promise to bring you happiness and become the man you want. If I miss something, I can fix it. My only desire is to be with you, Sophia. Could you cancel this date and save our marriage?" Nathan's voice was trembling, making her sympathize, but it looked weak and pathetic. When she saw her strong, tall man burst into tears and begged her to stop, an undeserved surge of strength swept through her veins. Deep down, she knew of his unwavering love for her and believed that Nathan would eventually forgive her when he understood her emotions. Their shared history, the precious bonds they had created, their children, all this strengthened her confidence that their union was indestructible and doomed to eternal existence. "Nathan, my love for you knows no bounds, and I'm looking forward to spending the rest of our lives together," she confessed, overwhelmed with tenderness. "But today, I have to embark on this path because it is not connected with our deep love. I'm only asking for one night to indulge in nonsense. Please try to understand and give me this opportunity, and I assure you I will remain yours forever. I understand that you are in pain, and I deeply apologize for that. However, you're exaggerating the situation. It's just a casual dinner and a few drinks with a friend, nothing more. I can guarantee that nothing bad will happen. I will return home by evening, forever devoted to you. I believe that you will understand this when it's over. Tomorrow, we can talk, and you can have me back as your wife. I love you, Nathan, but I have to go," she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. The urge to hang up overwhelmed her, but her husband's desperate plea stopped her on the spot. Wiping away her tears, she carefully applied makeup and met her own gaze in the mirror. "You probably think I'm heartless for doing this, but Nathan, I'm sorry. I have to set priorities for myself." With determination, she straightened her hair, put on lipstick, decorated herself with perfume, and tried to banish thoughts of Nathan. In his hotel room, Nathan sat in silence, holding his phone in his palm. The conversation ended, leaving him with a heavy heart. There were tears in his eyes, and anger boiled in him, not wanting to subside. He begged his wife not to go on this date, but she just waved him off, assuring him that everything would be fine tomorrow and he should treat it with understanding. A wave of sadness hit him when he realized the bitter truth. He had lost her, the woman who had been his only love and confidant for the past 2 decades. The private investigator parked his white van in front of their house just before 5 p.m., watching Sophia closely as she pulled into the garage. About an hour later, a car pulling into the driveway caught his attention. Peter quickly wrote down the license plate number, made several phone calls, and 10 minutes later passed the requested information to Jason and Nathan. Surprisingly, even before the couple left the house, Marcus's home phone and address were displayed on their phones. When Marcus entered the house, the sequence of events continued. Looking into Sophia's eyes, he couldn't help but notice the sadness that settled in them. It was obvious that she was going through a moment of uncertainty and remorse. This situation was all too familiar to him. He had observed it in the past, his wife suddenly realizing that her actions went beyond their marriage, forcing her to reconsider her plans. Quickly realizing the urgency of the moment, he prepared the perfect words to address her. "Sophia, what's bothering you? You look so saddened," he hesitantly replied. "Marcus, maybe we should reconsider this. Lately, I've been thinking about Nathan's request to stay away from you. I can't get rid of the overwhelming guilt, as if I've already betrayed him. As a tear rolled down her cheek, Marcus rushed to the couch and wrapped her in a comforting hug. Based on his past experience, he skillfully coped with the problems that plagued her. Although it took a long time, his ability to understand a woman's emotions and train of thought helped him find a solution. But instead of manipulating her, he saw it as an opportunity to support and guide her towards a change of heart. He was fascinated by overcoming obstacles because he loved difficult tasks. "Don't worry, Sophia. We don't have to continue this," he said sincerely. "I understand your concerns. It's understandable that you prefer not to date anyone, even just to have dinner or go to the movies. But please know that he doesn't understand that we are just friends. Men like him tend to shield their partners from potential threats, but if he knew about the depth of my friendship with you, I think he wouldn't mind. I must admit, I'm upset that our plans to spend tonight together were disrupted, but I understand the reasons. I sincerely wanted to enjoy your company and get to know the new restaurant. I have a thought. Why don't we just have dinner, and then I can walk you home? I'm sure you won't be offended if you have dinner with a friend." Sophia found comfort in his unflappable demeanor, which convinced her that dinner would be fine. Besides, she was already dressed and secretly wanted to go anyway. As the clock struck 7 in the evening, Peter noticed the couple driving off, heading to one of the restaurants in the city center, and informed Jason and Nathan of their whereabouts, keeping them informed throughout the evening. Peter had no trouble photographing the duo for 4 hours during their dinner together. They entered the dance club holding hands and dancing gracefully in each other's arms, resorting to romantic gestures. Sophia and Marcus kissed gently and pretended to be a couple in love. After capturing their intimate moments, Peter recorded a video of them dancing a slow dance, with Marcus's hands gently caressing her body. The next morning, before sunrise, Peter quickly shared all the photos and videos. At 8 o'clock sharp, Nathan dialed the number of Brian, Sophia's father, to break the sad news. Brian and Nathan had been in close contact for several years as friends and fellow golfers. "Hi, Brian. This is Nathan," he greeted. Brian replied, "Hi, Nathan. Are we still playing golf on Sunday? I regret to inform you of the sad news. Your daughter is currently dating a colleague from her workplace. Although I thought our relationship was in good shape, she expressed a desire for more and is currently dating this man. Please understand that I care deeply about both you and Maggie, but I can't take this situation anymore. I consider our marriage over because she violated our prenuptial agreement, and I cannot find the strength to forgive her for this betrayal. I just want you to know the reasons for the upcoming events. I am deeply sorry that everything turned out this way. Are you suggesting that she will go on a date with someone else? Are you sure?" Brian questioned. "For sure. It's hard to believe because it's not like her at all. Brian, I've hired a private investigator who's watching them at dinner right now, as we speak. She's dating this terrible man now. She's betraying me, our marriage, and our children. I apologize for reporting this hard news, but I have great respect for you, and I think you should know the truth. Nathan, I'm deeply sorry. Please remain calm and avoid any impulsive actions. I believe that she loves you, and maybe both of you can find a way to solve this problem. I'm sorry, Brian, but I've exhausted my strength. I will contact you soon. We have to change our plans for next Sunday. It looks like the upcoming weekend is going to be unpleasant." After a private investigator helped find out the address of his lover, Nathan drove to Marcus's house in 20 minutes to meet with Olivia, his wife. When Nathan asked if she was Mrs. Evans, Marcus's wife, Olivia looked confused. The 30-year-old mother of 3 met him at the door, dressed in skinny jeans and a delicate top that accentuated her impressive figure. "Yes, is he all right? What is it?" she asked, concerned, showing on her face. "Rest assured, he's in good hands," Nathan assured her, his tone sincere. "He really works with my wife." After asking permission to enter, he led her into the living room, preparing for the difficult conversation ahead. "Mrs. Evans, I regret to inform you that at the moment, your beloved husband, Marcus, is on a date with my future ex-wife," Nathan said, his words clearly sounding apologetic. "Yesterday, My beloved wife informed me that she wants to discover new horizons and express her gratitude to your extraordinary husband for his boundless generosity. But I can't help but note my doubts. Is this really the same person you see? My Marcus participates in poker games every Friday night. Mrs. Evans, I wouldn't be standing here today if I wasn't absolutely sure. As we talk, my private investigator is closely following their every move. I will soon have concrete evidence in the form of photographs and videos that I can share with you. I felt it necessary for you to be aware of this situation. I was overwhelmed with guilt as I watched her tears, knowing full well that this affair was most likely the catalyst for the destruction of their marriage. But Marcus made a conscious choice by getting involved in this risky game. On a calm Saturday morning, Nathan was looking forward to his breakfast. When breakfast arrived, he settled down comfortably and drank a cup of famous coffee, enjoying its delicious aroma. With a satisfied smile, he allowed himself to relax in the comfort of his bed. But his calmness quickly turned into a mixture of disgust and indignation when he opened the photos sent by a private investigator to his phone. Among the disturbing revelations, he found solace in the fact that she returned home at 1 o'clock in the morning, and there were no intimate meetings that night. But when Nathan looked at his wife and saw the extent of her betrayal, he was overcome by a surge of anger. Tears welled up in his eyes, blurring his vision. The sight of their intimate kiss and the way her lover's hand brazenly rested on her back destroyed any hope of reconciliation in him. Besides, he couldn't help but notice that she had decorated herself with stockings, a gift that he had once given her and now was intended exclusively for her lover. The burden of her deception and inattention became unbearable for him. Overwhelmed by feelings of humiliation and inadequacy, he found himself completely crushed. As soon as the anger broke out, it turned out that Marcus had convinced Sophia to extend their date after dinner and go with him to his favorite dance club. It was this choice that led to the collapse of her marriage. At the time, and deep down, she admitted her mistake before reluctantly agreeing to leave. But driven by the desire to experience something like this at least once, she continued on her way. Meanwhile, Nathan, with tears in his eyes, felt a deep sadness unlike the one he had felt before. If earlier he had shed tears over the death of his mother and mourned several dear friends, then this new feeling overwhelmed him. Watching the video for the third time, he froze in place when Marcus inappropriately touched his beloved and exposed her stockings. In a moment of excruciating pain, he began to cry without addressing anyone in particular, vowing to bring the culprit to justice. After considering the situation, he realized that although his wife may not have entered into a physical relationship, her actions were still unacceptable, disrespectful, causing deep emotional pain, and ultimately betraying the sacred bonds of marriage. On Saturday afternoon, he met Candy at the hotel at 2 o'clock sharp. Over the next 2 hours, they talked, gradually getting to know each other. Nathan had clearly expressed his wishes, and Candy seemed to him the perfect candidate to realize his intentions. At about 4 p.m., they returned to his house, and by 5 p.m., they were in his bed. Before going to bed, Nathan carefully placed a note on the bedside table. The note contained a message he had prepared for Sophia, telling her about her violation of her marriage vow and the emotional pain it caused him. I have come to the conclusion that in my eyes, we are no longer married. Although we are still legally bound, the emotional bond that once bound us has dissipated. Marriage ceased to matter, giving us both the freedom to follow our individual desires. Since this is my home, I intend to set aside the master bedroom for myself, although you can occupy any other room in the house. I ask you to refrain from invading my personal sleeping space. Your clothes and personal belongings have been moved to the guest rooms. I ask you to respect my personal space. You have achieved what you wanted, freedom, and I hope that it will bring you happiness. Now it's my turn to find satisfaction in my newfound freedom. I hope this letter will help you start a new chapter in your life. Love, your ex-husband, Nathan. With a heavy heart, Nathan took off his wedding ring and carefully placed it on the letter. Raising it to eye level, he made a solemn decision. Taking out one of his treasured collectible knives, he carefully ran the blade through the center of the ring, piercing the letter through, and then firmly stuck it into the wooden door. This powerful image awaited Sophia when she returned home that evening around 6:10 p.m. The sight of the knife stuck in the door left her in deep anxiety and loomed over her like a shadow when she entered the house after a long day at work. Naturally, for an ordinary person, such an incident would cause a shiver down the spine. Cautiously, she headed for the door, scanning the surroundings for further signs of discord. As she approached, she saw a note addressed specifically to her, as well as Nathan's wedding ring. A surge of adrenaline coursed through her veins, and tears flowed down her cheeks as she read the contents of the letter. Clutching the ring and the note tightly, she hurriedly rushed, frantically looking for Nathan in the dimly lit house. She stood in the hallway and shouted his name. Her voice was full of suffering, and she sobbed uncontrollably. The house had a serene atmosphere, with only faint sounds coming from the bedroom. Curious, she climbed the stairs and cautiously approached the bedroom door, hoping to see the source of these sounds. Enraged, she opened the door and saw a young, attractive woman vigorously engaging in intimacy with her husband. Stunned, she stood motionless in front of the bed, watching this daring activity in their sacred marital bosom. Sophia's rage was uncontrollable, and she unleashed her anger on her husband, exclaiming, "How could you, you despicable man?" Overwhelmed with emotion, she ran out of the house and tried to find solace in her car. Rage and sadness gripped her as she drove the car to her sister Mary's house. Arriving at the place, she was able to pull herself together and wipe away her tears. She poured out her heart to Mary, telling her about the devastating moment when she found out about her husband's infidelity. Feeling completely lost and not knowing where else to turn, Mary tried her best to comfort her, gently soothing her confused feelings. She couldn't believe that Nathan, like no one else, could stoop to cheating on her. Throughout their relationship, he had always bestowed immense love and unprecedented respect upon her, surpassing any other man she had known. Mary herself often envied the attention and affection that Nathan gave her sister. This behavior was not consistent with the Nathan they both knew. "Has anything else happened, Sophia? What do you think is the reason?" Mary asked. Sophia answered quietly, shedding tears, "I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I went on a date last night. That's the only explanation I can think of." "What do you mean? You went on a date with whom?" her sister asked. Sophia replied, "Just with a colleague. There was nothing intimate about it, just dinner and a little dancing." "Let me clarify, sis. Last night, you went out with another man, had dinner, and went dancing, leaving your husband at home. Is that right?" "Yes, you're right, but you're presenting it in a negative way. Are you crazy? Do you really believe that a man like Nathan wouldn't mind if you dated someone else?" I explained to him that it was just a chance meeting without intimate intentions, just for fun. "Wow, I can't believe you're my relative. You're acting stupid and promiscuous. Now I understand why he has another woman in his bed, and to be honest, I don't blame him." She sobbed even harder, picked up the note pinned to the door, and handed it to Mary. "Sophia, you've made a big mistake. Your selfishness and lack of judgment could have led to the loss of your husband and the breakdown of your marriage. Look, you can stay here tonight, but it's imperative that you come back to him tomorrow and try to sort things out. I'll contact him later and ask him to talk to you, but I can't guarantee that it will have an effect. Sis, you need to be prepared for the worst possible outcome. Knowing how my husband would react to such an outburst, I can only imagine that Nathan's determination is even stronger than Tom's." Sophia spent the night alone in the guest room at Mary's house. Mary cried all night and could not sleep, overwhelmed with emotion. Mary urgently texted Nathan and asked him to call immediately. Nathan had always had feelings for Mary and immediately understood why she was talking to him and dialed her number. "Hi, Mary, how are you doing?" "What is it?" he asked with genuine concern. "Hello, Nathan. My angry sister is here right now," Mary replied with obvious disappointment in her voice. She continued to talk about the unpleasant events that had happened the night before. "I don't blame you a bit," Mary assured him, acknowledging how quickly and deftly he retaliated. There was a note of amusement in Nathan's reply, and he chuckled. "Well, you know me, Mary. I don't tolerate nonsense. Look, I understand that she made a serious mistake, but she's in a terrible state, and I can't treat her like this. You two should talk about this tomorrow. I'm not sure if you're really planning on evicting her, and I won't blame you if that's the case. But if she has not yet committed any intimate acts with this person, it may be worth considering how to deal with this. It may be worth contacting a psychologist or exploring the possibility of shock therapy for Sophia's damaged brain. Anyway, I'm asking you to let her come back and talk tomorrow, Mary. Of course, she can come back. It's still her house, and I didn't force her to leave. I am no longer upset or angry, and now I do not harbor a deep resentment against her for betraying me. I allow her to speak out, but I don't give any guarantees about our future. I despise this woman now as much as I once loved her. At the moment, the pain prevails over my emotions. It will take a miracle to revive my love for her. But you already know that. You are the wisest among our family. God, I can't understand how my sister believed that you would agree to her dating someone else. It is important to approach the situation with patience and understanding, knowing that she truly loves you. I hope she didn't go too far with the person she was with. Take care of yourself, Mary, and let her come home when she's ready. Goodbye. Goodbye, Mary. It was Sunday afternoon when he returned from the gym and noticed Sophia's car in the driveway. When he entered the kitchen, he found Sophia sitting at the table, trying to put on a smile. She assured him that she was not going to get a divorce. He remained silent as he watched Sophia fussing and worried. Casually reaching for the coffee, he sat down opposite her. After taking a few sips, he met her gaze and decided to put an end to the prolonged silence. Sophia, I've come to terms with it. Whether we get divorced or not doesn't matter now, he said calmly. Breaking our marriage vows was a turning point, signifying the end of our marriage. I no longer see us as a couple and give you the freedom to seek a new relationship, just like me. The only difference will be that you will no longer share my bed, and we will not engage in intimacy. It ended the night you went on a date with the man you're dating. Nathan, he's not my partner, and nothing inappropriate happened. Sophia, you went on a romantic outing with a man who is not your spouse. You dressed provocatively, had dinner, held hands, let him touch your body, kissed him, and spent time together. This is where the problem lies. For you, what was happening might be insignificant, but for me, it was of great importance, and that's ultimately what led to the dissolution of our marriage. Congratulations, you won. We won't seek a divorce if that's what you want. I want to clarify that I have no intention of ending our marriage. Let's take a little time to sort this out, and I'll be back in our shared bed very soon. By the way, have you finished your affair with the person you were involved with? I'm not going to tolerate this kind of behavior anymore. To her surprise, Nathan burst out laughing and replied, That's funny. It was you who broke our marriage alignment, not me. The moment you agreed to meet your lover, you actually broke off our relationship. You set me free when you got into his car and left our marriage behind. I have no intention of ending my relationship with Candy and will continue to spend time with her. She has youth, attractiveness, charm, and a playful personality, which makes her an exceptional partner. In truth, it was undoubtedly the most enjoyable intimate experience I have ever encountered. We explored uncharted territories that you never imagined, discovering aspects that I was missing. Given these circumstances, why should I turn down such an opportunity? Although I'm not sure if you already know, Sophia, I have to admit that while you were spending time with your lover last night, I accidentally visited his adorable wife, Olivia. Do you know that they have 3 wonderful children? I am sure that this thought never crossed your mind while you were enjoying communication with your lover, but recently, I got some intriguing information from her about Mr. Nice Guy. Do you happen to know that you're the 3rd woman Olivia has caught him with in the last year? She also mentioned that Jessica Wilson, your former colleague, was the last wife he cheated on, which led to her divorce. Apparently, your dear Marcus has quite a rich past, although Olivia assured me that it has come to an end. She expressed the understanding that a cheater will always remain a cheater. It looks like you belong to this group now. Perhaps you could have chosen a more suitable partner to betray me, but I'm not prone to infidelity myself, so I cannot fully understand it. Looks like you and Marcus have successfully broken up 2 families. Great job. This revelation stunned her. and he saw her come to the realization that the man for whom she had decided to jeopardize her marriage was nothing more than a dissolute individual seeking physical pleasure. She was furious with herself for her stupidity, and the news of Marcus's destructive actions against other families deeply disturbed her. Anger seized her so much that she completely lost control of herself and burst into a type of screams directed at her husband. "Nathan, I need you to understand something. He's not my lover, and you have to stop insisting otherwise. I can't understand how you had the audacity to come to her house and falsely claim that he was cheating on her. Oh my God, it was just dinner. Your act is truly heartless and causes deep pain. But what about you? How can you justify inviting another woman into our house? This is absolutely inexcusable. This madness must end. Let's not forget about the candid dancing, kissing, and caressing that took place in the club. I made a commitment to Olivia, assuring her that I would provide her with copies of all the photos and videos she might need when Marcus tries to write off this meeting as a simple dinner, just like you did to me. Although I understand that you may not consider this to be cheating, it is important to note that most people consider an intimate relationship with someone outside of marriage to be a form of betrayal. Giving yourself to another person outside of marriage is a violation of trust. When will you understand this fact? You seem to think that I'm cruel and touchy, but I am genuinely curious. How do you define your actions of love and caring towards others? I don't want to sacrifice the time I spent with Candy, and if you can't accept it, then you can leave. Nathan, I want you to end your relationship with her and be devoted to me. I won't pursue anyone else, I swear. Can you promise the same thing? Promise? Okay, I get it. It's ironic, isn't it? You made a promise to be faithful to me as a spouse, but it was never fulfilled. Was it, Sophia? If you are not satisfied with our agreement, you can leave or file for divorce. Perhaps you should think about moving in with your lover because you will also need a new place to live. In my opinion, you two are a good match for each other. Alternatively, you can stay here or maybe move in with your sister Mary. I'm sure she'll be happy if you live with her, and you can have a positive impact on her daughters. Nathan, will you end your relationship with this woman? Do you still have feelings for me? Do you mind making up and being together again? Sophia, it's too late for that now. The moment you expressed a desire to be with another man, it broke me emotionally. Though I love you, my heart is overflowing with love, but trust in other people is not enough. It is difficult for me to determine whether I can truly trust and love a person who can easily leave me. Any self-respecting man would never allow his wife to be with another man, but you defied those expectations. You bravely confessed your intention to be with another man, ignoring my feelings about it. Now that you've broken our marriage vows, I have to figure out my desires too. Now, I long to be with Candy, a captivating young woman who embodies my wildest fantasies, surpassing even my imagination. Perhaps watching my happiness with another woman doesn't give you satisfaction, does it? Well, now you understand at least some of the pain I've been through, and prepare for the consequences of your actions. Retribution can be ruthless, and it won't be kind. Besides, as for our divorce, that decision is up to you. We can stay housemates and assess the situation, or if you agree, I can quickly prepare the divorce papers within a week. Sophia left quickly as soon as Nathan and Candy got home on Saturday night and returned only after Candy left. He had discussed with Sophia beforehand the plan to text her after Candy left. Admittedly, he enjoyed both the physical relationship and Sophia's torment, but soon Nathan was overcome with guilt. After a week, he realized that such meetings with Candy were extremely physical. Although very pleasant, there was no genuine intimacy, and the financial costs became burdensome. After Sophia returned on Sunday evening, he announced his intention to give up meetings with Candy for a while and expressed a desire to find someone else. Upon hearing this, Sophia begged him to change his mind, urging him to end his relationships with other women. She admitted her mistake and admitted that she wanted to see only him in her life. Sophia's plea was sincere. She talked about the agony she felt every week when Candy came to his house and spent time with the man she loves. This pain has become unbearable for her, and she cannot see her husband with another woman. Sophia begged Nathan to give her the opportunity to reconcile and give their relationship another chance. I know I can't compare to a girl like her, but I can offer you a unique kind of love and support." Nathan was stunned by her remark. "Love? Sophia, do you really understand her meaning? Love does not mean leaving your spouse for a relationship with other men. To be honest, I doubt that you really understand what love is, and therefore it is impossible to give away what you do not possess. But here's what I'm ready to do. I'm not going to have any romantic relationships until we go to a psychologist together. If we can solve our problems, then maybe we can build a future together." She jumped up from the couch, hugged him tightly, and showered kisses on his face, eventually pressing her lips to his. "Thanks, baby," she whispered. "I promise I'll fix it." But Nathan couldn't just forgive her for what she'd done. "Wait," he interjected. "I'm not ready to forgive you yet. This is just our last chance before I say goodbye to your unfaithful self. You know that I love you," she insisted, "and I believe that our love will last forever." Forever. She leaned over to him and asked if she could spend the night with him. Unfortunately, he refused, tormented by vivid memories of her with that other man. The memories of how you kissed another man and allowed him to touch you the way only I should continue to torment me constantly. I am filled with anger at you for callously hurting me and ruining our marriage. Fortunately, our children don't know anything about this because I can only imagine what they would think about betraying their mother. Obviously, my anger over your actions is not abating. Let's proceed cautiously and evaluate the results of the consultations. I have scheduled an appointment with Dr. Madison for next Tuesday. After embarking on an exciting journey, he relived the event, experiencing pain and agony twice a week for the next 3 months. This repetitive therapeutic process was reminiscent of the cliché stories that are often read about, and it turned out to be just as painful. Nathan had to face betrayal, return to painful memories, and listen to all these ridiculous nonsense for long hours. If only she had stayed true to their vows, life would have been much easier, but it seemed like an unjustified expectation. But after 3 months of dedicated consultations, they finally managed to solve these problems. Seeing the extent of the suffering caused to her, Sophia understood the reason for his response. She expressed dissatisfaction, saying that the act of reciprocating intimacy was much more severe, but he explained that by having an affair with another man, she violated their agreement and thereby provided Nathan with an authorized opportunity for retaliation. Although she eventually understood this point of view, her dissatisfaction persisted. On the contrary, the consultant sharply condemned Nathan for seeking revenge, but he remained indifferent to their disapproval. Without a moment's hesitation, he confirmed his willingness to repeat his actions. In the end, Nathan decided to divorce. Marcus paid a heavy price for his actions. His wife not only kicked him out of the house, but also claimed ownership of the house, received alimony for 3 children, and demanded alimony payments. Now, Marcus was huddled in a cramped studio apartment, experiencing financial difficulties due to the consequences of his infidelity. Oddly enough, Marcus lost it all for dinner, a couple of dances, a few phone calls, and kisses. What a fool he was. Sophia was horrified when she found out about Marcus's past affairs and how he was responsible for Jennifer's divorce. When she found out that Marcus had cheated on his wife and family with other women, she felt like she had foolishly lost her family, her loving husband's home, and even her parents did not want to maintain any ties with her. The divorce took place for adultery 3 months later, and Sophia was heartbroken. She believed to the end that Nathan would forgive her. Now she lives in a modest apartment, and her own children do not want to know their mother.